Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Celeste Any% tutorial. And today I'm going to be going over Reflection. So Reflection introduces a new mechanic, the feathers, and this mechanic is actually the only mechanic that changes depending on whether or not you play a keyboard or a controller. Because really the only disadvantage keyboard has over controller is that you don't have an analog stick. So with the controller, you can move the feathers in any degree that you want, allowing you to get some angles that you can't get with keyboard. However, it's actually a much smaller difference than you think, and you can do just about anything with keyboard as you can with the controller. It's just a few of the angles are going to be a little more tight because you don't have as much freedom. So if you're used to controller, that's good. If you're used to keyboard, you don't really need to change the controller unless you find it really difficult to do the feather strats. But on the contrary, having keyboard makes it so that you can get like perfect 45-degree angles with the feathers, and there are some situations where you may find that advantageous. But one of the key things to note about feathers is that the more you rotate with a feather, the slower the feather goes. So you're going to want to try to guide the feather in a way that keeps it in as straight of a line as possible. And like with keyboard, something that you can do to get some angles you normally wouldn't be able to get is to kind of wiggle between two angles. So like if I could grab this feather, if you kind of tap one key while holding another one, you can kind of wiggle between two different angles to go in some slightly less common directions, and that won't slow you down since you're not rotating much. But you don't necessarily need to do that anywhere, but you can if you want. But back to Reflection. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is dash up through this feather. So you're going to want to do an extended dash jump to get under it, because an extended hyper won't get you under this or over this block. You can extended hyper and then corner boost off here, but it's really hard and it's definitely not worth it. So just extended dash jump and then dash up, and then you need to grab the next few feathers that you encounter. So you just kind of have to memorize where the feathers are. And when you grab this feather right here, you need to maneuver through here while preserving as much as your speed as possible. So you need to try and get through this section while doing the least turning possible. And with controller, you can kind of just gradually rotate your way around here in like small increments. With keyboard, what I suggest doing is trying to go from straight up when you grab the feather, and then do a 90-degree turn, and then try and go at a straight line through this part so that you don't have to rotate downward at all. And if you get the line perfect, you'll be able to retain as much feather speed as you can. So. And if you get through that part with enough speed, you'll be able to skip the feather down to the left and just go straight for this feather. And if you're not confident that you're gonna make it, in fact, I'll retry here. So you're gonna have to practice. This is the hardest part right here because you have to do it without bumping into the walls. If you're not confident that you're going to make it to that feather, what you can do is you can dash up out of this feather, wall boost off this right wall, and then when you bonk into the bubble, it'll give you your dash back so you can dash through the feather. And I'm kind of messing it up because the wall boost will hit, you should try to aim for the bottom of the bubble when you wall boost so that you can dash up into the feather. I accidentally hit the top of it, so I was struggling a little bit to dash through it. But if you wall boost and get the right angle off the wall boost, you can dash up through the feather after bouncing off the bubble. But you want to take this feather up, and then if you get enough height and enough speed from that feather, you can then dash up into this feather. If you just barely make it into the feather before this one, like if you just barely get enough height to go through it, you might not be able to get straight to this feather, in which case you're going to land on the ground directly below me and then dash up into this feather. So you want to grab this feather right here, so pretty much just go straight up. Like dashing upright through the bubble will move you far enough to the right to just go straight up through this feather. And then you just want to weave your way around through these walls and collect a few feathers on the way. So you can go right or left around this one. I find it a little easier to go right because you're already kind of heading in that direction. Or you can also go left. If you go left, you don't even need to grab this feather right here. But if you go right, you should. And you definitely want to grab this feather and then go left around this wall. And if you're playing on keyboard, you can pretty much just hold the up key the whole time and then press left and right when you need to. When you reach a certain height from here, you can actually dash up out of the feather to get into the cutscene. But if you dash too early, you might not make it quite high enough and you'll end up retrying when you try to skip the cutscene. So if you want to play it safe, you can just take the feather all the way into the cutscene and you'll know exactly when the cutscene starts when you exit the feather. But pretty much the timing for the dash is just after the ground disappears below the screen. So you skip the cutscene here, and then right here is a very difficult skip known as Lake Skip, which essentially involves, first of all, you want to dash over here before the screen wipe ends, because you don't really need to know where you are just yet. But after the screen wipe ends, what you actually need to do Lake Skip. And Lake Skip will skip having to go all the way to the right of this room and use the Kevin to take the way out. But you can just ignore the Kevin and exit the room on the left side. And the way you do it is essentially you need to wall boost off of this corner right here. So this corner right here, there's actually a few pixels at the very bottom of the corner that the spike hitbox doesn't overlap. And you need to wall boost off that corner and then grab the wall above the spikes. And you want to dash straight up, and you want to buffer the wall boost so that you do it on the first possible frame. And also, you don't want to wall boost to the right. You want to wall boost just holding up, and you want to then immediately move left to get to the wall. Because if you wall boost to the right, you'll go too far to the right, and you'll miss the wall. And after you dash, you can even just hold left. Just preemptively start moving right after the wall boost. Because holding towards the wall when you wall boost doesn't change the angle that you wall boost at. It's only holding away. So you need to wall boost off this corner. You also need to be a few pixels away from the wall, actually. Because if you're too close to the wall, when you hit the corner, it'll nudge you to the right and it'll nudge you into the spikes. So with wall boosts, you can actually be a few pixels away from the wall and it'll still register the wall boost. And you need to be a few pixels off in order to do this wall boost. So I'm probably not gonna get the wall boost when I unpause because it's paused, but I actually got the wall boost, but I didn't get enough height. So you saw I wall boosted off that corner without dying. And you need to practice getting the correct position. So you can wall jump off this wall and do Lake Skip like that. And you'll notice if I'm too far to the left, the wall boost sends me into the spikes. And if you're too low, you won't get the wall boost. So there's kind of it's a very strict positioning, but it mostly comes down to muscle memory, get it consistently. And sometimes you can even grab the wall, but that doesn't really do anything. So another way you can get into position for the wall boost, and this is slightly harder for most people, but you can actually wall boost out of the water like this. And if you get enough height from it, you can do the wall boost right after that. And I find that this is actually more consistent when it gets to getting the horizontal position that you need. Like the wall boost, if you wall boost to the right out of the water, you'll almost always be lined up to do the second wall boost. But the hard part is getting enough height out of this wall boost in order to get the second wall boost. And if you go too far to the right, you'll miss it as well. So there are multiple ways to do Lake Skip. Overall, it's still a very difficult strat, but you can get it consistently if you get the correct positioning. And you can see just how tight it is. If you have trouble doing Lake Skip, and this is another skip similar to Demo Dash, where this platform you're playing on might affect how easy it is or hard it is to do, because in a certain patch, not sure exactly which one, but in a certain patch, they added a few pixels to the distance that you can be from a wall to wall boost. It used to be only like 1 or 2 pixels, but now it's like closer to 4, I think. And that makes wall boost a lot easier to do. Like on the consoles that don't have that update, it's a pixel perfect wall boost, which makes it extremely hard, and it might not be worth going for. So if you're on one of those consoles, you might just want to ignore Lake Skip for now. But if you get Lake Skip on your first try, it saves about 7 seconds. And I think it saves about like 2 seconds if you get it on your second try, but you need to get it within your first 2 tries to save time. So if you don't want to do Lake Skip, you'll spawn right here, and you basically just want to do a whole bunch of dashes to get to the Kevin as fast as possible. And you're gonna just want to practice like what angles you want to dash at to do the fewest dashes possible. And then you want to climb onto the Kevin. You can pretty much just stand on the left side of the Kevin and just hold duck so that you can time the down dash into the Kevin. And you don't need to jump to dash down to the Kevin either. So, but you want to activate the Kevin to make it go up at the soonest possible moment. Like, this is about a good timing right here. You could even do it slightly sooner, but you don't need to take the Kevin out of the room, because if the Kevin bumps into this block above me, you can still get enough momentum from the Kevin to just dash out of the room. So you can dash out of the room like that. If you do Lake Skip, you just want to jump up the left wall, and you'll end up right here, in which case you can hyper bunny hop and then dash up right through the feather. If you end up right here, you can wave dash and then dash up right through the feather, like that. So if you enter on the right side, you can do that. If you enter on the left side, you can do that. If you enter on the right side, you could also like land and then do a extended dash jump and dash upright, like that. And if you do the extended dash jump and then dash upright, it actually gives you pretty much the exact amount of distance you need just to go straight up with a feather. And then you only need to weave your way around these spikes a little. If you do the wave dash into upright, you'll need to move around a little more. But when you get to this height, or as soon as possible, you want to dash left to land on this platform. And then you can either like extended dash jump, dash upright to go for the left wall. You can extended hyper, and then dash up to the left wall. You can extended hyper, and then wall boost off the left wall. I find the safest, consistent method is to extended dash jump and then wall boost off the left wall, and it's not too difficult. And even if you miss the wall boost, like if you overshoot the wall, you'll still have enough time to move towards the left wall and then jump up. But if you undershoot that wall boost, you'll bonk your head and die. So like if you have trouble getting that wall boost consistently, you might just want to aim to overshoot it and just hope that you get it. But when you enter this room, you want to do just dash up into this feather. And then you want to maneuver around here. You can just move with keyboard, you can just move at diagonal angles. You don't really need to be moving up at all, so you can just hold up and then go at diagonals. But you want to dash upright into this Kevin and then get on top of it as fast as possible, because you need to make it go up almost immediately after it starts moving. And I actually didn't get up fast enough because I was paused. And then you need to make it go up through that gap, and then you want to extend it hyper off of it so that you can then dash up to here. And if you dash a little too early or a little too late into the top of the Kevin, it might bonk into one of the blocks above it. And if that happens, you can jump off the Kevin, and you'll have enough momentum to dash upright to this wall and then jump up. So that's a little bit of a backup that you can do. And when you dash upright into the right side of the Kevin, if you hit the very top of that side, you'll get sent right to the top of the Kevin. But if you're a little too low, you might have to jump up the Kevin. You need to hyper off of this side right here. Oh, and by the way, those blocks are called Kevins if you haven't already heard. So I'm going to be referring to them as Kevins from here on. You want to hyper out of this room and then bunny hop at the start of the next room, and then you want to dash forward through the feather in the next room. And you just want to maneuver around here. When you get to this point right here, you're going to want to try and just start moving straight to the right. So you want to be just moving directly right from here, maybe go down a little so you don't bump into that blue wall at the end. But what you want to do at the end of the room is either dash jump or corner boost out of the room. So the way you do that is you want to be holding grab before you dash, and then you want to dash right into basically that 2-block platform near the end. And if you're a little too high, you'll corner boost off of the raised part. If you're a little too low, you'll corner boost off the lower part, and if you're in the middle, you'll dash jump off the platform. And all 3 of those will get you into the next room. So you just want to try to dash jump, but if you don't dash jump, you'll corner boost, and that'll still work out. Like, I dash jumped there, but if I was a little bit off, I would have gotten a corner boost instead. So, yeah, just hold grab just in case you end up having the corner boost. Because if you don't hold grab and you try to dash jump, you might end up wall jumping. And wall jumping will make you hit these spikes right here. So you don't want to do that. You want to try to dash jump, and if you don't dash jump, you'll corner boost as long as you're holding grab. With the dash jump momentum, you can dash upright into this feather, and then if you maneuver around here perfectly, you can actually get to this second feather without exiting the first feather. But it's especially hard with keyboard because you don't have quite as much control over it. But you'll notice I just barely got out of the feather before I got into the next one. But if you practice moving with this feather, you can get straight into the second one. But you'll have to cut some corners to do that. So if you want to be a little safer, you can just kind of go through the middle of all these corridors, and then you can dash right into this feather, and that's not too much slower. But you want to dash upright out of the room so that you enter this room on the left side. And the height you get from the transition is just enough to dash forward, and dashing forward will cause you to break that block next to the Kevin, and you'll also slide along the ground, which gives you your dash back. So you can just do 2 very quick dashes to the left in order to break the block and then activate the Kevin. I meant like that. And if you're not far enough to the left, you'll notice you might end up... oh, that doesn't bring the block back. But so I'll start right here, and then I'll dash into the room again, and you'll see the transition gives you the exact height you need to do 2 dashes to the left. And then you can either, after activating the Kevin, you can either jump to avoid it, or I dash upright to avoid it. And then you want to land on it, and then the moment it moves all the way to the right and hits the wall, you want to dash down into it. And then as it's moving up, you want to move a little further to the left. You don't want to move all the way to the left of the Kevin, but you want to move about 1 block space away from the left edge of the Kevin. So, like about right here, because you need to jump out of the Kevin when it hits the top, and then you want to do a wall boost off a wall on the left. And if you're too far to the left, you'll get crushed against a block on the ceiling, so you need to be about right here. And then you want to wall boost off that left wall after you get the momentum boost, and you want to try and get as much height from this wall boost as possible. Because if you get enough height, you'll notice I'm all the way up here, and I can start jumping up this wall. But if you don't get enough height from the wall boost, you'll hit this corner right here, in which case you'll have to neutral jump and then start climbing. Or you can drop down from here and then wall boost off of here. But you want to enter the room on the right side, so if you end up hitting this corner, I suggest neutral jumping and then jumping up. But you want to dash forward onto this platform, and then you can wave dash off to this next one. And then dash upright to here, and then coming up is another neutral jump strat, where what you should do first is you should jump up and then wall boost off this corner right here. And you want to wall boost up and immediately start moving to the right to get back to the wall as fast as possible. And then you want to do all 4 of your climb jumps and then start neutral jumping up the rest of the way. And you want to try and get as much height out of these climbing jumps as possible in order to not have to do too many neutral jumps. Like if you get maximum height out of the wall boosts and the climbing jumps, you should only have to do 2 neutral jumps to get to the top. So, or you can even do it with 1 neutral jump, but you shouldn't have to do it with any more than 2. If you're doing it with 3, that means you're not getting enough height out of the wall boost and climbs. From here, though, you just want to jump and then wave dash into the next room. And then the strat for this room is a bit difficult because you need to basically get the falling block in the middle of this room to fall before the Kevin reaches it. So you want to activate the Kevin on like the top of the right wall, and then you want to just hop up onto the very right edge of the Kevin and be ready to hyper off of it. And you want to be ducking so you don't hit those spikes right there. And you'll notice I messed up, but and if you jump off of that wall too soon, the wall actually won't fall. So you need to make sure you need to grab it for at least a very brief moment. And if you do that quickly enough, that block will fall before the Kevin reaches it, and then the Kevin will go right through, like that. And sometimes the Kevin will even sort of nudge against the block, but as long as you get the block to fall soon enough. you can just take the Kevin straight through. And if the Kevin does still hit the block should still fall far enough that you don't get crushed, but the Kevin will start moving back, and so you'll have to climb to the top of the Kevin and activate it again. And getting the block to fall too late is not nearly as bad as jumping off the block too soon and not getting it to fall, because if that happens, you're going to get crushed by the Kevin and die. So if you have trouble getting the block to fall consistently, you might just want to pause a moment and just take the slower cycle. There's also a method you can do where you stand and crouch kind of in the middle of the Kevin so that you can do an extended hyper off of it, and then you can ultra to the block. And that'll pretty much always get you to the block soon enough to get it to fall all the way, but you need to time the ultra, and so it's more consistent, but it's harder to do. And if that happens, you can just do that. When the Kevin starts moving from here, there's a certain point, I'm not exactly sure what the point is, where you can hyper off the Kevin and then bunny hop out of the room. I don't know exactly what the timing is, so you're going to have to practice it. But what I do is I just wait for the Kevin to go all the way, and then I do a very quick dash jump off the right edge of the Kevin. And the momentum from the dash jump plus the speed boost I get from the Kevin is enough to get me out of the room. Like that. And then you can just kind of fall and then dash forward through this feather. And you want to hit this next Kevin on the left side and then try to get to the very top of the Kevin and stand on the Kevin to get your dash back, and then immediately get back onto the side of it. So you want to climb up, get your dash back, and then step off. And that lets you do a wall boost off the Kevin at the very end to get enough distance to land right here. Otherwise, you'll land down here if you don't wall boost, and you'll have to dash up. So you want to climb to the top of the Kevin to get your dash back so you can wall boost. From here, though, you can hyper, and then you want to wave dash at the very start of the next room. And you'll notice I got cornered there, because if you slide off a corner and then jump, sometimes you'll lose your momentum because it registers as a wall jump instead of a wave dash. So that can happen just about anywhere. So you'll need to just try to avoid it if you can. But if you do the wave dash, you can dash upright to here. And you'll notice this is actually a sort of fork in the route in Reflection, because Reflection has a lot of branching paths in it, which you can choose from. But there is an optimal option for most rooms. There's only really one spot where some runners may choose to deviate. But in this case, you definitely want to go up. So when you land here, you'll get your dash back, you can dash up. And then you want to land right here so you can then jump and then wave dash out of the room. Or you can either jump and wave dash off here, you can buffer a hyper from the transition here, or you can walk into the room and then extended hyper from here. And doing any of these methods will let you hyper and then dash over this. But if you wave dash into the room, you can bunny hop to give yourself a little more height to more easily make it over that spike. And from here, if you maneuver around here well enough, you can move straight to the feather. So you want to wait till you clear this spike wall here and then immediately start moving forward to the feather. Or if you find that a little unsafe, you can just fall and then wall jump off the left wall to the feather. And then you just want to maneuver the feather around here. And then you want to try to wave dash off the left side of this block. And the moment you enter the next room, you need to wave dash as soon as possible to get your dash back. So if you wave dash soon enough, like the moment you enter the room, you'll have your dash back and you can dash and then climb up here. If you lose your dash though, and you don't get it back from the wave dash, you'll land down here or somewhere around here, in which case you'll want to just kind of dash back up here. And from here, it's a hyper into the room followed by a bunny hop. From here, you can extend a hyper ultra to hit the top of that second bumper towards the right edge of the screen. And that gives you a lot of speed, and the bumper will send you back up. But it's kind of inconsistent because you need to do a really quick ultra. So if you don't want to go for the ultra, you can just extend it hyper and then dash upright and then climb up here. And from here, you just want to jump and then dash down right. If you brush along here at like the rightmost edge of it, you'll get your dash back to wave dash out of the room. Otherwise, you'll just get your dash back when you hit the bottom of the room. So, but you want to buffer, you can either hyper into the room and then bunny hop off of here, or again, you can buffer a hyper from the transition and then dash forward to here. From here, you can dash forward, and then if you time it right, you can dash down right, and then land right on this platform right here. If you're a little too early, you'll land down here, and if you're a little too late, you'll bump against that wall. But even if you do brush against this corner a little, you can still make it to this platform. So it's pretty lenient as long as you're not too early. And when you land here, you just want to jump, dash up, and land right here. And you want to take this top path. So there's 2 strats for the next room, one that uses the Kevin and one that doesn't. And I'll show you the Kevin one first because I think it's a little easier. So you want to hyper into the room and then activate the Kevin. And then you want to extended hyper off the Kevin the moment it hits the end. And that'll give you a massive speed boost so that you can then dash upright to the end of the room. But you don't want to dash too early or else the loss of momentum on the dash will not get you to the end. And sometimes you'll hit the bumper as well, in which case you just want to use it. But you don't need the bumper, you can just dash upright to the end of the room. I don't know why I'm constantly hitting the bumper though. And if you don't get your dash back, the bumper will pretty much always save you. So if you time the dash right, you can just go over the bumper and then dash upright to here. But if not, you can take the bumper and it'll get you to the end just in case. But the other strat for this room involves hypering into the room, and then you want to wave dash off the Kevin, then wave dash off of here, and then bounce off the bumper. And if executed correctly, it's about the same as the Kevin version, but it will be slower if you don't execute it right. Also, you can get cornered like that, which is a problem. So the 2 wave dashes are pretty precise, because you'll notice I didn't get my dash back from the first one. And sometimes you'll accidentally do an ultra, which is actually a little slower than the wave dash because you've already lost a lot of the momentum from traveling in the air. But that's essentially the strat right there, except I ended up doing an ultra instead of a wave dash like I should have. But if you do the wave dash off the green platform, then go upright to bounce on the bumper, that's a similar speed as taking the Kevin. Pick whichever one you find easier. But you want to hyper out of this room and then dash straight down when you enter the next one. And I don't know how I dashed down right there. But you want to dash down onto here, and then the moment you hit the ground here, you'll get your dash back so you can break this block. And you can even just buffer that down dash. Break the block as soon as possible. But you want to land on the left edge of this block right here, so that you can either dash forward or down right to break this block. And then sliding along the ground here will give you another dash, so you can then dash down right out of the room. So you want to do 2 forward or 2 down right dashes here, and then dash straight down to that next block. Like that. And if you're at the correct height, when you break this horizontal block that I just broke, sometimes you'll get your dash back. You usually won't, but sometimes you'll get your dash back. So you might want to press dash down one more time here, just in case you get your dash back. It's pretty much random. Like, this room is often called the RNG room because of how random getting your dash back here seems to be, but it's not too important that you do. Like, if you don't get your dash back, you just want to fast fall. And you want to land far enough on this platform so that when you dash forward, you get your dash back from the green platform, and you can do 2 forward dashes to break these 2 blocks. And I didn't get my dash back there because I wasn't far enough to the left. But I don't know if I can reach right here. No, I can't. But essentially it looks like that. So if you dash forward from far enough left, you can do 2 forward dashes. And then you're going to land like right here or so, in which case you can just dash jump to land here. And I would recommend just walking into the next room. You can dash jump into the next room if you want, but you need to be careful because you need to land on the very top of this bumper. So you don't want to enter this room too quickly. Like, maybe dash jump at the most, but don't hyper into this room because you'll probably get yourself killed. You want to land on top of this bumper though, and then you want to land on the top of the second bumper, and then hit the right side of the third bumper. So you can do forward dashes from these bumpers like this, but it's a little hard to land on the top of the bumpers from those. So you can bounce off the first bumper, dash forward, bounce off the second bumper, dash forward, fall, and then dash left into the third bumper. If you have trouble with this room though, I recommend dashing upright to land on this bumper. And if this bumper ends up sending you to the left at all, you might need to dash upright into to get to the crystal. But from here I can dash forward, and I actually went a little too far. If you get knocked right by this bumper, You might even be able to get through this gap without dashing at all, but I'd recommend trying to hit the very top so you can dash forward. And you can also dash down left to hit the right side of this bumper, but it's a little difficult. So you can dash down left to get to there a little quicker. But if you fast fall, you can still dash like straight left into it a little more consistently. But you want to dash and try to corner boost off this corner right here to send you into the next room. Otherwise, you can just land here and then dash upright. And then you want to dash upright through this feather to get a little more height when the feather starts. And from here, you can either go straight up, weave your way through the bumpers, and then exit the top into the top route. You want to take the top route here. Or you can go upright, weave in between the lower part of the bumpers and do the same. I find starting up easier, so you can weave through here. But you can also weave through, you'll see the gap between sort of the bottom left and bottom middle bumper. You can go upright between that gap and then exit through here. But I find going straight up a little easier. But you want to actually take this feather into the next room because feathers persist through screen transitions. And then you want to immediately start moving up and through the feathers so you can dash upright and skip this first crystal. And you might end up just hitting that first crystal by chance. It doesn't really matter. You just want to do, after grabbing the second crystal, you just want to do some left dashes. And on the second or third crystal, so this crystal right here, you can dash forward to the feather if you dash soon enough. And you can also take the feather straight forward, regardless of which part of it you hit. So you can just go straight forward here. You don't need to worry about that spike at all. But you do need to worry about this next one. So you need to go over this next one and then just maneuver. And then you want to dash forward to this wall. You can also fall a little farther and then dash upright. They're both about the same. But then you want to jump up here and then wave dash off of here. Or you can just land here and hyper. And then you want to ultra in the next room, but you don't want to ultra too soon. So do kind of a delayed ultra. So you need to bump into this wall with the ultra, because if you like ultra perfectly and slide right into this gap, the ultra momentum will actually carry you into the spikes. So you need to land here without momentum. So you want to brush against the wall first, this wall here. And that'll cancel out the ultra momentum, allowing you to safely land on this platform. But if you dash down right, you'll be crouching during your dash, allowing you to squeeze through this gap. And then if you wait just a moment, you can then dash down right to the end. Like if you dash down right too soon, you might hit these spikes right here. But if you wait just a slight moment, you'll pretty consistently land here. And then here is where some people deviate their route. I would highly recommend going bottom if you're new, or even for like intermediate level runners, because there is a strat for this top room. This room is longer, but you can get more speed from the bumpers in this room if you do it correctly. And so you can save, I think, like half a second at the most if you execute this room perfectly. But anything short of perfect in this room will be slower than the bottom room. So if you can't do this room, and I don't even know the strat for this room myself, so you can look it up if you want. But I'd recommend, after landing here, just go around here and fall through here. And then you want to dash right into the next room. And you want to try and time it. So yeah, if you dash right at the correct time, so you get enough height and enough forward position, you'll land on this platform instead of falling down here and you won't have to jump. But in this room makes use of a mechanic called bumper boosting, where if you're holding the direction that the bumper knocks you, so if this bumper, for example, will knock me to the right if I dash into the right side of it, and if I'm holding right, you'll notice I get knocked really far. But if I'm not holding right, actually I think I accidentally hit right there, so if I'm not holding right, you'll notice I don't go as far. So you need to dash into this bumper, the right side of this bumper, and be holding right when you hit the bumper, and that will give you more distance from it. And if you go a little further away from the bumper, you'll have more time to change direction. So you want to try and go kind of far away from the bumper and then dash into it. And the time that you spend in your dash is enough time to turn around so you can bumper boost. And if you do get the bumper boost right, you can skip the second bumper and then dash up to hit the third. Like that. And it's pretty precise hitting the third bumper, because if you hit it too low, it'll knock you down to the right. So if you find it inconsistent, you can just not do the bumper boost and use the second bumper. But I'd suggest at least trying to skip the second bumper because it saves quite a bit of time. But essentially you just don't want to dash up too early. Like you can dash up pretty late and still hit the right side of this bumper. Something else that you can do to get in position to dash left into this bumper a little quicker is to extend the dash jump from here. And then do that. And then you want to hit this bumper, like pretty much all the bumpers in Reflection, you can bumper boost off them if you want to get a little more speed. That bumper boost at the start of this room is one of the only ones that you really need to do. But for most bumpers, you can try to bumper boost to get a little extra speed. Like you can bumper boost off this bumper to get to that feather a little quicker if you want. But you want to dash either up or upright into that feather and then take it out of the room. And then you want to wave dash off this platform, so... And then dash upright into this feather, and then you can skip that feather over there and just keep going. You want to dash forward to this one. For the next feather, you can either go up and then dash down right, down right through it, or you can go down and then dash upright through it. And if you dash upright or down right, you can just move forward from here. Like the dash will give you enough of a distance from the spike just to move forward and ignore it. And then you want to wave dash off of here. And then in the next room, you can either bunny hop and then ultra through the feather, or you can extended hyper and then ultra through the feather. And then when you move forward here, you don't need to move up at all. You can just keep moving to the right and then dash up into the feather. You don't have to move up at all in order to reach the feather. But the moment you hit this feather, you want to start by going down and then weave your way through all this. And then if you maneuver perfectly there, you can hit this feather without having to dash. But since I'm on keyboard, it's a little harder, so you might just want to dash through this feather. And then these bumpers over here are kind of hard to get around, but you want to avoid these bumpers and try to squeeze through the middle at the very end. You want to dash through this feather, and then try to squeeze through these two bumpers before they close. And then you can then wave dash out of the room. The death cycle for this room is a little different, so if you die in this room, and you should probably practice this room so that you don't die because it's one of the longer rooms in Reflection. But in the death cycle, you can extended hyper, ultra, and then the bumpers will be in a slightly different position. So it's actually a little easier because you can just go straight forward through here and then go over here. Here though, when you wave dash into the room, you can ultra here, and then you want to, regardless of whether or not you ultra, you want to wave dash off of here and then bunny hop to get to there. So you can either just take the hyper from the previous room all the way to here, or you can ultra here and then hyper here. So it's a little easier just to take the hyper all the way to here. And then you want to bunny hop to get enough height to land here. And then you can just hyper to Granny and skip the cutscene. From here though, you can either extended hyper and then wave dash off of here, or you can just hyper and then bunny hop up here, off there, and then wave dash out of the room, like that. But then you want to hyper off of here, hyper off of here, hyper off of here, and then you can do two hypers, so hyper here and hyper here. But the hyper from here can pretty easily end up sending you into the spikes on the right. So what I would recommend is to either extended hyper here so you can dash straight down, or hyper from here, bunny hop off here, and then dash straight down. And I find that to be the safest way to get out. So hyper, bunny hop, and then dash straight down to get through this gap. And then you want to enter the next room on the left side, so that you can, when you're falling here, you can wave dash off of here. And getting your dash back, if you wave dash low enough, will let you dash right into the Kevin without having to hit the ground. Otherwise, if you don't get your dash back from here, you'll have to land down on the ground here and then dash up. But when the Kevin starts falling, you just want to get out of the way and then try to grab it once it starts falling. And then you just want to stick to the bottom of the Kevin. And then you want to wave dash or extended hyper here. And then you want to fast fall through here and then dash into the right side of this bumper and try to bumper boost. I didn't mean to hit the lower bumper, but it still works. So after bumper boosting or not bumper boosting, you can dash up right into here. And then there are a bunch of these ravines in this room, in this long room, that you can use to skip significant portions of it. And the first two ravines are really thin, but they have pretty much a free setup for them, while the last ravine is wider, but you need to maneuver through it yourself. So the last ravine is actually the hardest one. So to get through this first ravine, you can just jump, grab this wall, and then just fast fall, and you'll fall right through it. And then the moment you clear this first ravine, there's a wall that you have to dash right into in order to clear the second one. So you want to dash right into this wall right here. And then if you fast fall from here, you'll pass right through the second ravine. And then from here, you can start moving right here to land on a bumper, or you can just land on the ground here. And if you want to play safe, after bouncing off that bumper, you can dash upright and land right here. And landing here will create a checkpoint for you, so that if you die to this ravine, you'll respawn right here and you can try again. It costs about maybe 2 seconds to go for this checkpoint, but if you have trouble with this third ravine, I'd highly suggest getting the checkpoint. Because if you die in this room without getting this checkpoint, it sends you all the way back to the start of the room. Or all the way back to the part where you drop from the Kevin. And that's way back. That's like 10 seconds lost if you die there. But if you take this checkpoint, you'll only lose about 2 seconds to death. So you need to basically just get muscle memory to help you fall through this ravine. It's really tight. If you bounce off this bumper, like the very top of the bumper, you can dash forward and it helps you line it up a little. But it takes practice to get through this ravine consistently. And I actually find it a little harder to get through it from the checkpoint. So I try to do it checkpointless in runs and just hope that I don't mess it up. But you need to weave your way through here. You can fast fall through here if you want to get through it a little faster. But of course, fast falling makes it harder to position yourself. So you can just practice either. But once you clear this, you can fast fall. And then you want to land here so you can hyper off of here and then do a bunny hop off the water. And you can also try water boosting if you want. But you want to get under here. And you want to land right here, so you can do like a bunch of forward dashes and then do an upright dash to land on this platform. And then you want to do a short hyper into the next room. And if you do too long of a hyper, you'll land in this pocket, and this pocket will get in your way. So you want to do a short hyper from the previous room, and then hyper over that pocket. And then you can do 2 more short hypers and then dash straight down here. And then this is sort of the water room, where you have to do a lot of underwater dashes to maneuver around some spikes. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to do some down left dashes just to stick to this wall, so that when you start dashing down, you'll clear this. And then at some point you want to do 1 down right dash and then let yourself drift a little bit to get some more distance to the right. At which point you can just start dashing down. And the moment you hit the ground here, you want to dash to the left, weave your way manually around here. And then once you're like right here, you can dash forward and then start dashing down a bunch. And if you dash down into this ground right here, you can actually hyper here. Otherwise, you can just keep dashing down right to get out. But if you hyper here and then start dashing down, it's a little faster. And when you exit the water here, you're going to want to try to conserve your dash when you dash out. So if you're like right here when you dash out, you'll keep your dash. But if you're too far down when you dash out, you'll lose your dash. So you're going to want to dash out like right here to get your dash back. Then you want to fast fall here, and then if you get your dash back, you can dash forward to land on this platform. And if you lose your dash, you can land right here and then hyper to this platform. But from here, you want to hyper into the next room, hyper, and then you can bunny hop off the Kevin and then hit it, or you can just slide off the Kevin and hit it. But you want to hit it at the top, and then you just want to stand on the Kevin and dodge these. And then there is a strat for this room where you hyper bunny hop off the Kevin at a certain point, and then you can get a massive speed boost by hyper bunny hopping. Because if you hyper off the Kevin, you get the Kevin speed plus the hyper speed, and if you bunny hop off the Kevin, it gives you that speed boost again. So hyper bunny hopping off the Kevin actually gives you twice the speed boost from the Kevin that you would normally get just from hypering, and that just catapults you with incredible speeds into the next room and lets you hit battle and at the room without even having to do any extra dashes. But it's pretty tough, and there's a certain timing for it as well. What I would do is I would count the tentacles that disappear as you progress, and I believe like halfway after the 6th tentacle is when you want the hyper bunny hop. So if you like count the 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the hyper bunny hop. And if you get full height from that bunny hop, you'll land here, and then you want to bunny hop immediately upon hitting the ground there. So I'll do it again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you do bunny hops correctly in this room, and you'll be moving at extremely high speeds, which makes it hard to do, but if you get the correct bunny hop heights, you'll not bonk into any of these corners, and you'll actually retain all of that ultra momentum, or not ultra momentum, but Kevin momentum, when you hit the cutscene trigger. And if you skip the cutscene immediately, the momentum will carry through the cutscene and send you right into battling. I have trouble doing the bunny hops at the end there, so I don't usually do that strat. But what I do instead is a slightly slower but still pretty decent method. Is instead of hyper bunny hopping off the left side of the Kevin, I hyper off the right side of the Kevin, right before the 7th tentacle. So if you count the 6 and then hyper off the right side of the Kevin right before the 7th tentacle, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and then hyper. If I do that late enough, I can hyper into the next room, but that won't give me as much momentum as the bunny hop. Because you'll notice I don't have enough momentum to get all the way to battle, and so I have to dash forward here and then hyper to the cutscene.